Recording in progress.
Good evening. I'm Jack Walsh, chairing the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee meeting this evening and calling the meeting to order. In attendance, we have myself, committee members, Susan Honda and Lydia Sefa-Dawson. Also, we are joined by Council President Linda Kochmar, Council Member Jack Dovey, and Council Member McDaniel as well. So do we have any, let's see, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. We have Barbara Marsh.
Okay. Let's go ahead with the, get started with committee business with the approval of minutes, and then we'll go back to public comment.
So I move approval of the minutes with the following corrections. To note when Councilmember Walsh was not in the meeting due to issues with his iPad, and that Lydia Sefa-Dawson was chairing the meeting.
So the motion should be for the amendment first, and then if the amendment carries, then do the motion for approval of the minutes.
So I didn't do that?
No, I think it was
Okay.
approval of the minutes fully, so
Okay,
just amending the minutes first.
so I move to amend the minutes.
Second.
Did you get, okay, awesome.
All right.
Now can we move to accept
right.
the minutes?
Okay.
So long as
So,
they're-
so it's been moved and
Oh, we have to
seconded,
vote
the
on it.
minutes be amended
Aye.
to reflect that Lydia Sefa-Dawson chaired the meeting and that I was in and out during the meeting due to poor connection with the remote connection. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes, approve the minutes?
So we need
Hold
to,
on.
we need to.
Oh.
Yeah, we're voting.
You were almost to the vote. You almost did it.
We're doing
All right,
the I thing
okay.
right now.
All in favor of approving all in favor of the
Amendment.
amendment to the minutes, please say aye.
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 It is unanimous. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes now?
Yes,
I'll move.
All right,
Okay,
it has
thank
been
you.
moved. Do we have a second to approve the minutes?
yes.
All right, it's been approved and seconded. All in favor of approving the minutes, please say, as amended, please say aye.
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 It is once again unanimous, 3-0.
How did you catch that, Susan?
Well, I caught it earlier when I was going over it, so, anyway,
It didn't say anything about anything, so it didn't have anything.
yeah, so, anyway. All right, we will go back to public comment, and please come to the mic and let us know your name.
Hi, I'm Barbara Marsh. I've been here a couple times, this time for the RV rules. I do not see it on the agenda I was sent. It was on the agenda. The agenda I see tonight, I don't see that you're talking about it. Are you talking about that tonight?
On tonight, the RV rules would actually be in the Land Use Committee, which is not meeting. This is the Parks, Recreation, Human Services, and Public Safety Committee meeting.
Is that in a different,
That's a different meeting. Jack Dovey will be chairing that meeting. Is that on your agenda for the next one, or?
Yeah, Chair, if I could, I believe it is actually going to be on our first meeting in July. I think it's Monday, July 5th, or whatever the first Monday in July is.
For council business.
We're going through some revisions and staff is working on it. It won't be on the June committee meeting, but I believe it's on July.
Okay, because Mr. Niven, what he sent me, it showed it. Something tonight,
Oh,
that it was, the discussion was on tonight. So that's why I'm here. So,
Right.
thank you. I'll look
right.
forward to July then.
Our apologies for the misinformation and you needing to, but it's wonderful to have you here nonetheless.
Well, thank you. Well,
But-
can I just make one quick comment?
Absolutely.
There's got to be more of us that are interested in what's happening with the RVs. And I'm not sure why. I don't know if the city needs to maybe publicize, we're going to be voting on this. We're going to talk about these rules, because there's probably a lot of people like us that thought we were fine. We parked it there for, 10 years plus, and had no idea that Federal Way had rules, had no idea that, we weren't supposed to. So I'm sure there's probably a lot of us like that. And if you make some rules that, depending on how big, maybe smaller than what people have, it's going to be hard for some people to make those changes. So it might be good to maybe publicize this issue, because I know there's a lot of people that have boats and RVs and things at their house. So anyway, that's just,
Right. Thank you for your
My
comment.
comment.
I think that Councilmember Dovey,
Chair, is it all right if I make a comment?
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I want to thank you for coming up, because you were the first person that came up and brought this issue up before the council, and that is actually why it's going through committee now. So if you hadn't come to the council and been willing to speak and bring it up to our attention, we probably wouldn't have be where we are going through the process. So the process takes some time.
Right.
But your voice has been heard, and if it hadn't been for you, giving you a compliment, thank you
no,
for
I
coming.
agree. Well, and I appreciate.
But there are
Council is opening to listening to.
Yeah, there are other people that have the same concern. You brought it forward, and it's just going through the process, and it's something that takes time because it affects 100,000 people in our city. And
Oh,
we want to make sure
absolutely.
we do it the first time right.
And I
So
don't
thank you.
super appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Is there any other additional public comment? All right. Okay, our next item of business, the Senior Advisory Commission Quarter One update. And,
That was,
oh, hold on, how did I get onto the?
you're probably on your minutes.
Oh, I'm on the minutes, okay, I thought that didn't sound right for just now. Okay, all right. Okay. We have, the next item is report on the PAC operations, and we have Autumn Gressett at the stand. And go ahead. The time is
Sorry.
yours.
Good evening. I'm just going to pull up the PowerPoint presentation here, and then I will turn it over to Stacia for you. I'm not sure why it won't screen share, but I'll go ahead and pull it up. As introduced to you last time, Stacia Winters is our new general manager of the Performing Arts and Events Center. She will be presenting to you this evening.
Good evening. We are going to do a quarterly update today for January through March. A few of our event highlights are here. You guys do have a full list in your packet as well of all the events we did at that time. A couple events I specifically wanted to highlight. Tacoma Opera did do a 10-day residency with us in February. That included a bunch of rehearsals as well as 3 performances, as well as a event that we did with the Federal Way Public Schools was their district band concert. That was very well received. That was an opportunity for the students to get on the PAC stage and perform on the stage for their parents. We are working with the foundation to do an event next year in conjunction with the Federal Way Public Schools that is going to be a larger district event for students from schools all over the district to come and perform and do a longer event to give more children the opportunity to perform on the stage. We also continued with the monthly chamber luncheons, as well as we do weekly Federal Way Youth Symphony rehearsals every week. Total usage for the 3 months for the quarter was 44 days. Total tickets sold over January 1st to March 30th was 5,098 tickets. A couple comments from the community. This is a specific comment that we got from an attendee, is that the PAC is a wonderful place to go. There's not a bad seat in the house. We also got really great feedback, even just in the month that I have been here. Almost everybody that I've talked to about the PAC had incredible feedback about Black Jacket Symphony. Everybody was really excited about that show, and we're excited we're bringing them back in November to present Elton John's Madman Across the Water. So that show is already selling very well. It's over half sold already, and we're 6 months out, so it's going to do really well. We're really excited to bring them back. This is our marketing analytics, specifically for the month of March. A couple things that I found that were very cool that I wanted to point out. You can see that our spend is down, but our click-through rate and our clicks is actually much higher, which is really cool with spend going down. That means that our organic growth is boosting a lot, and that's definitely what we want to see as far as marketing, is that organic growth and interest from the community. Without using marketing dollars to reach them, they're coming to us, which is awesome to see that that is continuing to grow with less marketing spend. Overall, our first quarter revenue was $475,307. That includes gross ticket sales and gross ancillary revenues. And then we're hitting about 25% of our annual budget, which is right on track, a quarter through the year. Our current projected revenue for 2024 is $1.6 million. Again, this is gross revenue, and projected is also, it's not necessarily budgeted revenue. That is what we have on the books currently, or that I am actively working on confirming and feel confident is going to confirm. So there is a lot more potential, of course, as other events come up, as I am continuing to book concerts. That is going to continue to grow. But we're in a really good place. End of the year 2023 revenue was $1.9 million. So we're looking really good. The fall calendar is starting to book up and looking awesome. So that's very exciting. And then I wanted to go into a little bit more of the current work that we're doing that I have done since I've been on site at the venue. A couple other things we're working on. Booking, of course, the 2024 to 25 PAC Presents season. This has been a really exciting endeavor for me to take on. I'm trying to expand a little bit more the types of shows we're bringing, the types of cultural reach that we have. I'm trying to bring shows that are going to entice other groups that maybe haven't had the opportunity or the desire to come to the PAC. I'm really trying to reach into some of those genres and bring more people out to the PAC to enjoy shows. We're also working really heavily right now with the Arts Foundation Federal Way and Federal Way Public Schools on the Arts for Youth program. There's a few things that we're doing to expand this year, hopefully, to take it from having kids just come out to see shows, but also to participate in shows, to do workshops, to work closely with artists, to really boost kids' interest in the performing arts. I've also been meeting with local hotels to build our partnerships there. I just had 2 meetings actually this week to continue figuring out what are other ways that we can work together to, of course, increase beds in heads on their end and drive new businesses. My specific focus and ideas behind that are smaller conferences that we can bring in, that we have the potential and there's interest and inquiries at the PAC, but we maybe have 1 too few meeting rooms. That partnering with the hotels is going to bring this new business in and be beneficial all around for everyone. We're also in process currently negotiating with Autumn and her help, of course, for the MOU negotiations with our resident arts organizations. We're starting meetings this week, and we've already been discussing that, and that is going really well so far. A few new positions that we are bringing in. We do have a staff accountant coming on board, hopefully very soon. I've been doing interviews for that and hoping to get an offer out in the near future. We're also going to be bringing on a new full-time marketing person as well as sales for the corporate sales position. And we are also adding a part-time Arts for Youth coordinator. The goal behind this position is to be a little bit more education focused so that we can bridge the gap a little bit better between the programming that we're doing and the offerings that we're giving and what the school is needing and the curriculum that they have to make sure that we're really meeting it so that it's beneficial to them and students want to be a part of it. And finally, a quick corporate sales update. I have been meeting with our corporate sales partners for naming rights we've been rebuilding the deck, and their presentation deck and pitches to include some more updated numbers, some of the goals that we're working on, and we are starting to go back out as well with that and continuing to have those conversations. Of course, bringing on that sales position as well will help with that. I've also been working with them on other avenues, other sponsorship opportunities and things that we can do as well to bring more partnerships into the venue. Any questions for me?
That's,
Yes.
Councilmember Asafa-Dawson.
Sure, thank you. Thank you for your presentation and welcome.
Thank you.
And I hope you're enjoying it so far.
I am, yeah.
With the anticipated revenue generation for 2024, there's a $300,000 difference between 23 and 24. So maybe you can't answer that question, but my question was why the dip in the 300?
Yeah, absolutely. So that is projected revenue. So that is things that are either already contracted and booked or things that I am like currently working on and are going to happen or very, very likely to happen. There is, of course, still space because I'm still booking this season. There are still inquiries coming in. So it's not necessarily, like I said, what we will bridge that gap. It's not what our anticipated budgeted revenue is or anything like that. It's what is kind of on the books and what I'm currently working on.
So it's not
Does that make
necessarily
sense?
projecting less than what we did last year then?
No,
Is that
yeah,
what you're
no.
saying? Okay, great. And then I had another one. Go ahead. I have another question, but I forgot.
Okay, we will come back to you. But first, hey, this is the first time
Yes.
from the dais, I've had a chance to welcome you to, we've done it in person, but from the dais, I'd like to welcome you to Federal Way and
Thank
to the
you.
PAC. And it is great to have you here, and we look forward to working with you.
Thank you so
So
much.
thank you very much for that. And with that, Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, the question I have is, it looks like with 44 events, 90 days, you'd almost book 50% of the days that are available, which is great. Maybe not as good as we can do, but it's a good start. But we sold 5,098 tickets, and the place holds 700 per show. And my rough math says that's 115 people per show, but that's probably skewed. I mean, what was the attendance like? Were all 44 shows where people bought tickets to be sitting in the seats?
So-
Or what was the actual seat count for shows that people bought tickets for?
Yeah, I don't have that right now, but I'm happy to follow up with that. Of course, those are usage days as well. So those are other smaller events. That includes Patrons Lounge, if that's rented out, as well as smaller meetings when we do, 80-person meetings, as well as ticketed shows. So I can follow up with you if you're interested specifically in
I guess I'd just be
ticketed.
curious, when we sell a ticket,
Yeah.
are we 50% full, are we 75? Because it'd just be interesting to know how many rear ends are in the seats.
Yeah, absolutely. I can definitely follow up with that.
Thank you.
Every show, of course, sells differently.
Right, Councilmember McDaniels.
Yeah, good evening.
evening.
My questions are going to be strictly on the financial side. Usually you guys come in, we bring in the revenue numbers, but not the expense numbers. Do you know what the first quarter expenses are?
I don't have that on me right now, but I can follow up with that.
Okay,
Yes.
if you could, I did mention in the finance committee when we had that I'd like to get a copy of the ones that get sent out. I know you guys get a financial report, so I'd like to see that one and kind of keep track of that one. The other question is you just mentioned 4 new positions, and I'm curious to know on those 4 positions, first of all, are they revenue neutral? Are they going to generate revenue? And also, why are we bringing in 4 more positions currently when I know we have an issue with, I know we're not going to be, it's never going to make money for us, I understand that part, but at some certain point, there has to be a line that
Yeah.
has to be made. So the first one is going to be if you give me expenses, and the second one is going to be if you can explain the 4 positions and the why factor.
Absolutely, yes. I can definitely follow up with that statement. We can email that to you. I'm also happy to sit down and walk through it with you if you have any questions. The positions, 2 of them are strictly, 2.5, the 2 and the part-time are strictly refilling positions that recently left. So those have already been in place. The new position is really only the corporate sales one that will be a revenue generating position.
And how would it generate revenue? Is it literally going out for ticket sales or?
So the corporate sales position will primarily be working on naming rights as well as other sponsorship opportunities throughout the venue. So it's a fully revenue generating piece of, or position to bring in. There's different opportunities both with events as well as smaller sponsorship opportunities on the venue, with the primary focus being that naming rights.
Okay. And then do you know what the current estimated cost will be for this employee?
Yes, it's budgeted at $70,000 to $80,000.
Is that before benefits and everything else?
Yes, that's the salary that is published with the position.
So probably about 100K. All right. And then, is that part of your guys' current budget, or is that something that's gonna be an ask in the upcoming budget?
It's part of the current budget. All of these positions are part of the current budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
And Councilmember Sefa Dawson, back to you.
Yeah, so these positions are they city employees then?
They'll be Oakview Group employees that report directly to myself,
But paid by city funds?
paid by the PAC budget, yes.
Okay. Is that, okay,
Yes.
thank you.
I have some questions.
Okay, Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. On the naming rights, when we put together the budget for the PAC, before it opened, naming rights was a big part of that budget. So what do you anticipate you can get for naming rights, and how much would go to the city to run the PAC, and how much goes to your company?
So naming rights, I am not sharing, it's not public information quite yet. We're working on valuation again. That's kind of a constant moving thing as we are working on updating, again, our presentation and going to companies. I am not sharing that publicly because we are still working on some of these negotiations and pitches. There is an incentive to that position if they sell naming rights, and but the rest of it goes back into the fund for the venue and offsetting that subsidy.
So what percentage will Oakview get?
I believe I will have to double check in the contract. 20%, yeah.
In the contract.
In the contract, yep.
And one of the new employees is specifically hired to do this?
Yes, so that employee is hired specifically with their primary focus being naming rights, because we do know how important it was to that PAC opening budget. So that's going to be their primary focus. But like I said, there are other opportunities to sell sponsorships to offset the subsidy, and of course, less monetary ways than a large naming rights partner. But there's other opportunities around the PAC to bring in additional sponsors and additional corporate partnerships that can also bring dollars into the fund.
I thought that there was already someone on your staff that was working on naming rights.
So we do not have somebody full-time specifically in the venue, but we do have our corporate partnerships that is currently working on it, yes.
Okay. Last time we met you, I think that was the first time we met you.
Yes.
You talked about using the outside space. Have you thought more about how you can use the outside space?
Yes, absolutely. I've actually talked to a couple of different groups that are interested in renting kind of the lobby space, and I have talked to them about opportunities. And specifically, there's a wedding that we are working on booking right now that was interested in a couple different things. So pitching how to use that outdoor space in conjunction with events that are already in the venue. I've also begun looking, I don't have anything booked yet, but I have started looking at other opportunities for the outdoor space and the parking lot space, car shows, potentially smaller outdoor summer concerts. There's a few things that I'm hoping to put together for this summer that I'm currently working on as well. So I have ideas kind of percolating and trying to fit all the pieces together currently.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
All right, thank you. I had a number of questions, and my colleagues up here
Answer
asked them. So anyway,
Excellent.
is there any, are there any promising prospects for the naming rights?
we've had some interest. We needed to do a little bit of updating as well as, I think there's a lot of interest in the growth of the PAC. So that's a lot of what we focused on with kind of redoing some of this presentation, and some of the things they're doing is talking about our expected growth and some of the things that we're working on in the community, and how the PAC is a part of the community and the name is out there and the continued efforts on that. So yes, there's interest, and I think with the things that we're putting together, there's going to continue to be a lot more interest, because that felt like it was something where we may have been lacking a little bit in that communication with our partners.
All right. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I'll just make the comment that this last weekend I was talking to some people, and they were talking about some of the quality of the performances there, specifically I didn't even know, but I guess the Ukrainian ballet
Yes.
was there,
Yeah,
and
Giselle.
they commented on how exceptional it was, and commended commended you for getting that group here. So anyway,
Excellent. Thank you.
all right. I have no other questions. I think that takes care of it. Thank you very much. All right. Did you have more for us, Autumn?
No, I'm just presenting next.
Oh, okay, all right. So you do have more for us, all right.
Yes, on a different topic.
All right. All right, let's go on then to the Federal Way Community Center Locker Room Soft Demolition Contract Award. Item C on the agenda. Go
Good
ahead.
evening, Chair Walsh, Council President Kochmar, committee members, and council members. I'm Autumn Gressick, Contract Administrator for the Parks Department, and the item before you today is the Federal Way Community Center Locker Room Soft Demolition Contract Award. It's a bit of a mouthful, but as you know, we've been working on the locker room renovations for what seems like longer than we would have loved to be. However, we've moved forward into our second phase of this, which is going out for bid for the locker room demolition. As we brought to you back in February, we had to shut down the locker rooms under an emergency case. We have since gotten our temporary locker rooms up and running, and they're being utilized by our members in that facility. As we move forward through that, we decided to split the project into a couple of other phases in order to fast track what we're doing. That's what's before you today. We solicited bids via the Small Works roster, and this includes a full soft demolition within the women's locker room, men's locker room, sauna, steam room, and all of the cabanas, so everything that kind of is within that footprint. It will take everything from the ceiling down to the base, everything's coming off, give us a good opportunity to take a look and see if there's anything else behind there that we're missing. We have no anticipated additional needs, but was one of the reasons that we moved this up. When we went through the bid process, the proposed contract award is with Woodland Industries in the amount of $102,393. The anticipated start date would be by the end of this month, so May 31st, and they have a 20-day expected completion time. So before the end of June, we'll have a full demolition of those locker rooms and be able to begin moving forward with bid solicitation for the rehabilitation of those facilities. The final policy question for consideration would be, should the City Council approve the Woodland Industries General Contracting Incorporated bid in the amount of $102,393 for the demolition work in the Federal Way Community Center locker rooms, and authorize the mayor to execute the contract? And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Councilmember Dovey.
Is part of the contract a clause if they do not do it in time? What are we billing them?
There is liquidated damages within that contract. Off the top of my head, I don't remember the exact number, but I want to say it's about $1,500 a day in liquidated damages. It's calculated off of the contract dollar amount and the amount of loss that we lose sort of each day that they continue going on, where our members are affected in those additional facilities that they have to access through that hallway.
So if they, it's a 30-day contract plus or minus what I think I heard you say. So if they go 31 days, we're going to deduct $1,500 from the contract?
They have 20 working days to get this
20
done.
working days.
And for every day that they go past that, it's $1,500 a day.
That we
Give or
re-
take roughly those numbers. I'm happy to send them to you, but yes.
Give or take?
Yeah.
Is-
I don't remember the exact
Okay,
number.
there is some number
Yes,
that if they don't get done in 20 days, we're
Correct.
going to bill them for.
correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. I don't remember when we first heard about the locker room situation, but it seemed like it was several months ago. And my impression from what we were told was that there was, staff was working on a plan to redo the locker rooms at that point.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, you know, it's that months have passed. And it seems to me like this is such an important thing to get done and to get done right.
Absolutely.
And I just thought that we were working on it long before February, or a while before February. And now we haven't even demolished anything in there. So what is the holdup? Is there a holdup, or was I had the wrong impression that things were moving when things really weren't being done?
I'll answer your questions in a couple of parts. One, you're not wrong. We brought this to your attention in a full assessment report, May or June of last year, so 2023. That allowed us, with your authorization and approval of 1.7 million of ARPA dollars, to move the needle forward and begin this project. We went ahead and solicited for qualifications for a firm to come on to project manage and help us through this. That contract was signed in August of last year. They helped us put together the final solicitation for a design firm and an architect, which we legally have to do per the RCW. I can't just go out and hire one. So we went through that process. A lot of times it takes time to write those, solicit those. It took us about 30 days to write that and get it through legal review. And then we did another 30-day solicitation and review. That brought us to December when we signed on our architect, which we brought forth to you guys for approval. And then we began working on what's the next step. Getting all of our designs put together, getting us to 85%, doing additional building assessments. They began their work right around Christmas time, and by February 1st is when we were notified of all of the building assessments, and we were given a preliminary report with the black mold status. We came to you, I believe, the second or third week of February to give you guys that status. We shut down the locker rooms immediately, and within 3 weeks we had temporary locker rooms up. So it brings us to March of this year. During that time frame, we asked our architect to pivot their work, and instead of having a full project that would have started demo in September of this year, to fast track that to be able to get us to a soft demo phase quickly, and then we'll continue with rehabilitation in the fall. That took us probably 30 to 45 days to redo the designs that they were doing, change the scope of work that we were going to put out on the streets for a bid, and get that approved and authorized to go out for work. March through April, we did a 2-week solicitation to ask for soft demo bids. That ended at the beginning or the end of April, and then we went ahead and did a fast track to get it to you guys today, May 14th. So based off the timeline for how Public Works projects works and the legal requirements that we're bound by and our city policies, we're right on track. There is no delay. In fact, we're ahead of schedule in getting the demo done. Demo was not scheduled until September 1st of this year.
Okay, it just seems like this is such an important thing to get done. I was thinking that it would be done a little bit faster. Are we still looking at 2 years to get this whole project after the demo, getting it built out?
Our schedule has always been to bring things back online by May 2025, and that's still the anticipated goal timeline. We don't know at this point in time if we'll be able to fast track our rehabilitation timeline. That's obviously a goal of all of ours and something that we're putting towards our architect and whatever contractor we bring on. We want to try and exceed that May 2025, but we're still on track for that as of right now.
Will there be a penalty to the contractor if they're not done
I
at that
haven't negotiated a contract or even gone out to bid, so at this point in time, I can't say what that would be, but typically if they're not done within a certain number of working days, that's built into our public work contracts, that there will be a penalty for every day that they go past that.
I would encourage that. We need this done right,
Absolutely,
with the correct materials,
correct.
and as quickly as possible.
And our goals are the same, as quickly as possible, but also taking the time to get it done correctly and not cutting any corners. And so, again, based off legal requirements with the state of Washington and our city policies, we're right on track with where we need to be, and we're excited to get that project going.
Now, will they be working 7 days a week?
Typically, no, they'll be working 5 days a week. We set those. Most contractors, if you have them working nights or 7 days a week overtime, it comes at a premium. It's certainly something we may be able to negotiate as we move forward with the contractor, but I would say that the anticipation right now is not 7 days a week. Also because anytime we have a contractor working, we have to have an inspector from the city, from the Parks Department, on site with them, double checking those. So it requires additional staffing from our end.
So at all points, when the contractor is working 8 to 5 or whatever, there will be a staff member, an inspector from the city on site, and that will be the only job for that inspector?
That's not the only job for that inspector. They stop in throughout the day, but we can't have a contractor working on a day that there's no city inspector to come check them in, double check work throughout the day, and then do a checkout at the end of the day for a final daily report.
And is that, do we already have that inspector? Because-
It typically falls, because I'm the contract administrator, it doesn't fall to me. It will fall to one of our other parks team members, George Richin, or one of his staff members. It depends on what the workload.
To be the inspector?
Depends on what the workload is at the time.
So it's not a building inspector, it's an inspector from the Parks Department?
A building inspector will still come out to do an inspection when building inspections need to be done. What this position does is make sure that the contractor is following the contract documents and all of the prints per the specs. And so that's a consistent daily check that we're going through.
So, but it's not a building inspector?
It's not one of our building
Okay,
inspectors, no.
that's the
Yep.
confusion I had with
Yeah.
you. Okay, thank you.
Right. Before going to Councilwoman McDaniel, just a very quick question. It's soft demo. What is soft demo as opposed to, I would assume, hard demo? You know,
We're not taking out anything structural. So what we've asked of the contractor at this point in time and what's negotiated in the specs is to take everything up to the hard ceiling back. We don't want them to, even if they pull back some drywall or tile and they find a structural issue, we don't want them just tearing it out. We would want to know about that first and then assess how we move forward from there. If we were to do a full demo, we would have allowed them just to take out anything that was damaged that they find. We want to have some control in that. One, because it's in the center of our building, we want structural integrity. Two, we don't want something to be removed that we didn't put eyes on first. So that's why we're calling it a soft demo. It's kind of the in-between. There may still be a little bit of demo that the next contractor does, but it'll be very minor in comparison to what the overall project required.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Councilwoman McDaniel.
Well, that was my first question, thank you. The other question I had was, on the demo, when we do the demo, if I understand correctly, are we leaving the studs in play if possible?
Yes,
And are they metal studs or wood stud?
metal.
Metal, okay. And as soon as we get the demo done, I assume there's a picture's gonna go around, they're gonna go look at it and all that stuff to verify that everything's legit?
Correct.
Okay, my second one was, this bid was 102, I think it was?
Correct.
What was-
102,393.
How many people bid for it, and what were the average bids around there?
There was only one bid.
Just strictly these guys?
Correct.
I guess that makes it easy enough. And I take it that's a fair bid from what you guys have heard then?
Correct. It's actually less than what we thought our cost estimate would be, which was a benefit to us. Also, we had several contractors come out and do the pre-bid tour and reach out during the bid process. Ultimately, they decided not to bid, and so that's where we ended up with Woodland Industries.
They didn't give any reasons why, just chose not to?
Some wanted to just be a subcontractor with another contractor, others no reason.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Just one, Councilwoman.
I want to make sure I heard that right. You only had one contractor bid on this?
Correct. We had several come look at the project, several call and ask questions about the project, one that decided to submit an actual bid.
That's amazing to me in the economy we have in construction that only one person bid for 100,000 plus, but I get it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
People are very busy, and they're
Yeah,
very, and there's a lot of bigger jobs
I
than
don't know. I
100,000.
have a son that runs a very, very, very large construction company in California. And there's always 5 to 10 people bidding now on buildings because there's not enough work. So I find that, can't believe that we really only had one, but I guess you're right.
Oh. Well, one last question. With when it does come time for the construction, the reconstruction, are we looking at the same, the same plan as what it is now, or is there going to be the change in
There's no changes to the existing floor plan. Everything will go back like for like. I think the only thing we're changing is the swing of a couple of restroom doors inside the dry toilet area in the women's locker room, and that's just simply for ease of access to it. They swing out instead of in. But other than that, everything stays the same.
Okay, all right, thank you. If there's, so we need a motion on this.
I move to forward the bid and proposed contract to the May 21st, 2024 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's approved unanimously. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Autumn. All right.
Thank you.
Next, we have item D, Steel Lake Master Plan 3 Design Alternatives. And Mr. Gerwin.
Good evening, Chair Walsh, council members. Before you tonight, first item I have is an informational only. And what I have is a review of the 3 design alternatives as part of the master plan of Steel Lake Park. We had a second public meeting, as you're aware and brought forward previously. It's a 3-meeting process for the master plan. And for meeting 2, several council members were in DC attending to other business. And so I wanted to bring this forward as informational only to make sure council is aware, and we have solicited council input. So what we have is we have 3 design alternatives. They're part of your packet, but pretty hard to read. I provided you with larger copies for the dais, and depending on the direction of this body tonight, I have the larger copies that we had during the public meeting if you wanted to view those in greater detail and larger scale. What you have before you is 3 design concepts for potential ideas for improving Steel Lake Park. This is an iterative process, meaning all 3 designs are separate, they're independent of each other, but they're interrelated as well, meaning that you could like something in concept 1, something in concept 2, and concept 3, and all of those 3 could end up in the final design or the preferred alternative master plan. So with that being said, I'm open to how this body wants to move forward with that. If you've had an opportunity to give input, if you want to ask questions about the 3 design concepts, or take a little more time to review it, give you time to comment back to staff. The goal is I didn't feel like we had a good round of comments from city council. There were several council members that attended the first meeting. Like I say, several of you were in DC for the second meeting, but based on the comments from that first and second meeting is we're gonna come to a 3rd meeting with a preferred alternative. That would be the last alternative at meeting 3 to say, hey, we like this, we don't necessarily like this and want some changes. So that'd be this is one of the final 2 opportunities for input. And just to remind you what a master plan is. Master plan is just a pretty picture with a bunch of good ideas on paper. None of the ideas are going to be built tomorrow. None of the ideas have design work or construction drawings. So park staff and would need to come to this body for approval to move forward on any of these ideas, concepts, or developments, and also secure funding to make those happen. With that being said, I would entertain how this body wants to move forward with that, but that's kind of the information I wanted to bring forward, make sure you had an opportunity to give feedback if desired.
All right. Let's start with, you're ready for questions, then it sounds like.
Pardon?
You're ready for questions.
I'll answer the best I can.
All
And
right.
Again, this is about comments and feedback, and comments and feedback make this final master plan the best it can be.
All right. Let's start with Councilmember Honda.
Oh, thank you. So, so these were concepts came from the parks staff?
No, these concepts, well, park staff make comments on, so we had meeting number one.
Right.
And meeting number one was at the community center, and we presented the park, explained what infrastructure issues we were having, how the park's being used, and we kind of heard what we loved, what the community loved about the park and what they hated about the park, what they wanted to see improved, what they didn't want to see improved. From that information, that first public meeting, surveys that were posted online, that's how we came up with these three design alternatives. Then, like I said, we brought these three design alternatives for further scrutiny, comment, and feedback.
So I don't see where the road going down to the parking lot by the boat ramp is expanded. Is that on here somewhere?
So it's one of the designs to change parking, to change the ingress, egress to that, but it's not necessarily graphically represented on this.
Okay.
Because we're, like I say, we're not to a, what the map shows you is kind of what the park looks like and a little bit of an overlay to expand that road down to the boat launch. Part of that's going to require some conversations with the state. A big portion of that boat launch area is not city property. It's owned by the state of Washington and the Department of Ecology.
Well, I'm talking about the,
Yeah, it's right where it
Getting
narrows
down-
down to the one.
yeah, getting down there.
Correct.
because
And
it's
so,
difficult.
again, what we've heard from the community is parking lot is a huge concern. Drainage, it's some of those basic infrastructure things that have not been improved since King County managed this park. And so ingress, egress is one of the hotly desired items. Again, a little more engineering, generation to figure out how you would, you're essentially going to start encroaching in towards the playground. And so, not to alarm the public, we want to slowly ease into that, but that's a strong desire, and a lot of the comments we heard back is.
We couldn't buy some of the property next to the road instead of the playground side. On the other side, we couldn't buy some of that property too?
We own a little bit there, but before we can expand the road there, the entire road that heads down towards the boat launch is an open ditch. And
Yeah.
so, what I do know about the park and what we experience on a regular basis is that drainage is grossly undersized. Pretty much 312, everything from 312 drains down through the park. And I believe that pipe is about 6-inch pipe, and that is grossly
But we
inadequate.
would have to
So-
improve the infrastructure before we improve the park.
You would need to do some drainage work before,
I mean,
some
there's always-
roadway.
Yeah, there's always stuff you don't see
Right.
when you improve something. That is really important to do.
Yep.
And sidewalks, did,
So that's another one of the things you can see on one of the iterations there. A walking path is hugely desired in that park. It's one of the things we've received the most feedback on. We get a lot of people in the morning and afternoons. You have Shag Housing that's not too far on 23rd, and a lot of people come and walk that, and they walk on the existing roadway. And car, pedestrian, not good. You need to have those two separated, but it occurs now. And so it's long been desired. You can see along a lot of the curb lines, we've got a worn social trail. So I think it's highly probable that a walking path around the park is going to be one of the items that lands on that final preferred alternative.
I was thinking a sidewalk along the road as when people can't park because there's not enough parking and they walk in on that little road getting in there. But anyway,
And so there is on 312, on the south side of 312, Public Works has made progress in getting sidewalks and safe route to the park. And so they've made it from 23rd to kind of the dip in the road there. There's a crosswalk right adjacent to the Heritage Center, the brick building there at the Steel Lake Annex. And so that, you can walk on sidewalk, use the crosswalk, safely get into the park. I know Public Works does have a project that extends that sidewalk all the way to 28th Avenue.
so I know other people have questions, but, what I'd like to know is, so these are concepts, you want our opinion, and then someone will make a decision on the preferred plan. And then what, we don't have money to do this, it has to be planned, right? You need someone to go in and do the master structure, all the planning.
Well, so,
So so if we get the preferred, what the preferred plan is, then we have to find the money to do that preferred plan.
correct,
And do we have a timeline for that?
no.
Okay, that's what I needed to know,
Okay.
okay.
Yeah, no, but we all know that Steel Lake Park is being loved to death.
Yes,
It-
we know-
It needs improvements, and so this is just the first start in that
Okay.
journey. This gives us like, what I consider our compass bearing on how we're gonna move forward and kind of rehabbing and rejuvenating that
I mean, I would do it
much-loved
right
park.
away if I could, if I could have a magic wand, I would do it.
If
right-
money was endless, I think there'd be a lot in the community that would do that, but as we know, money is finite, and we gotta work within the resources we have, and that's what we intend to do.
Okay, so that was what I wanted to know. Thank you.
All right, let's go to Councilmember Sivadatsa.
Thank you. Thank you so much. My question is really quick and simple. There are different features on each concept. So is there a way to then give you our suggestions or recommendations to,
So
combining?
probably a good way to do that would just send me an email with a bulleted list. Hey, I really like this, I really like this, and no way, I don't want to see that one, or something to that effect. But we're taking everyone's opinion, they're all getting thrown into the hopper, and it's kind of going to be, democracy at its finest to try to finalize this plan. But ultimately, and this goes back to a little bit of what Councilmember Honda was saying, is ultimately, this body, the city council, is going to approve what the preferred alternative master plan is. Staff is going to take this iteration and guide that process, but ultimately, you decide whether or not we're going to accept that as the final preferred alternative.
So we're not deciding on which one of these three concepts?
No, you're telling me just what you like about each one and what you maybe don't like about others, and just so it's, again, we're trying to go through this process so that we give multiple opportunities to hear the desires of the community and stakeholders to give us that compass bearing moving forward.
Thank you.
Just a quick question
Sure.
before going on to the others. Would there be a possibility of, I think I know the answer here, but a possibility of any of the council members that would like to, maybe meeting you or John or
Absolutely,
somebody
please,
there?
I would
and kind of
welcome it.
Doing a,
I'll do a dog and pony show, however you want me to dance, tell me.
let's see a chick, right? No, okay, all right.
I'm not a greatest dancer though, Jack, I do have to tell you that. Sorry.
All right. And so let's go on to Councilmember McDaniel.
All right, I'm gonna give more opinions than comment.
Sure.
more that. So on concept number one,
Okay.
I think some of the basic ones you have on here, the drainage issue, the
Right.
bathroom remodels, the drinking, and the feet washing are pretty basics.
Okay.
On concept number two, I like the additional picnic shelters.
Okay.
In my mind, the trails is probably the best part of this whole concept. So trails are huge for me, and I think that ties in with you restoring the annex and the wetlands. When you do the trails, you're gonna have to do some cleanup anyways, it's gonna be obvious at that point. And then on concept number three, I like the extended dock format, making more of the U than just going out with the L. I mean, when I was a kid, it was the L the whole time. I just don't know, I just feel like that completion would be a nice little touch. I'm questionable on the basketball, tennis / pickleball courts, mainly just because of location and parking. Definitely huge on expanding parking on wherever we can. That place is always packed, both sides spilling out all over the place. So I feel parking is probably the thing I would start with for space and then go forward. And then I like number 8 on 3, where you're getting the concept of tying that into the downtown by having that little walkway in there. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, again, these are just comments after reading this.
Sure.
I think we have to do the things that upgrade the basic structure of the facility, like the dock and the drinking fountains and things like that. I really like the walking trails, so we have connectivity. I'm concerned about the connectivity from one side of the park to the other. quite honestly, I think we should get rid of the baseball fields altogether and turn them into something more like pickleballs. I don't like basketball myself, but nobody uses those fields anymore in my perception, and maybe you could tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think investing money in fields in this location is a good investment. We should be doing more things that bring families together to recreate, walk, have connectivity, and, you know, right now, as our population grows older, I think things like pickleball and more walking are more important than baseball, because we have Celebration Park, we have National Little League, we have Lakota, I think we have enough. And then lastly, when you talk about having bike racks and not having bikes on the trails, that's kind of contradictory to the movement. So if you're going to encourage bikes, these trails will end up being bike trails anyway, so maybe that's a disconnect.
Yeah, no, I think that's great
So
feedback.
those are my suggestions.
Yes.
We definitely have to do something, put a plan together, and then start budgeting for what we can do as we go.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Council President Kochmar.
I pretty much agree with everybody with what they said. I think, you know, you have to start with the basics and with the money available. And then first you have to have your must and then your wants. And so the musts obviously are the picnic area to be expanded and the, you know, expanding the parking. Those are the things that are used the most right now. And you've got repair the existing dock on all three of these items, so I would assume that that's pretty important.
Yeah, the dock is high priority. If you're not aware, it's got a little bit of a list to it. And so, you know, wake up
Yeah.
in the middle of the night afraid that the dock's in the water. I don't think that's going to happen tomorrow, but we need to start planning for it. It's a big expenditure. And the dock shows you just 3 different ways we could expand the dock. Know that as you get bigger or the more you expand it, the more money that costs. But, you know, that U-shaped dock really, I think the U-shaped dock creates a true swimming area and a protected swimming area.
Yeah. So, again, like what everybody said, you just have to put down the basics first that you really need. Like, you really need the parking, you really need the dock, you really need some more picnic area, there aren't enough. And then go from there. And of course, you know, you've got to do something about the lawn. You can't play on dirt. So just the basics first, and then start putting in the things that you really like to have, like the trail and and go from there is what I would assume.
No, thank you.
Oh, a couple of questions. With the dock, I mean, we have, you know, repair the dock in concept 1 and concept 2, and then extend the dock footprint in concept 3. Are those, I'm sure that extending the dock is a lot more expensive than repairing the dock, but are they with, yeah, I mean, could it be repaired and then later on phased to expand it? Or would simply the repair not be, what's the right word I'm looking for, conducive to later expansion?
And that's a good question that I don't know we have the answers to yet. And part of that is the last evaluation we had done on the Steel Lake dock was 2013, and we did some improvements. At that time, the list was there, but it's a little more pronounced than it maybe was 11 years ago. And so to me, the first thing we've got to know is whether or not there's still integrity and lifespan left on the floats. To me, that's your ultimate, and then that's going to determine your course of action. If they're at their useful lifespan and can't be rejuvenated, renovated, then you're kind of starting from ground zero again and new floats and so then.
So I guess what my question is that right now it's, you know, more of an L-shaped dock, and to make it the U-shaped, if it ended up that we need to do major repairs on that L shape, would the current L shape, would it be conducive to bringing the other side into making it U, or would it need to be expanded out or something? I mean, are they mutually exclusive, I guess
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, but, again, you can't say you're gonna expand the existing dock or, tie the U together with it if you don't know the floats are
Right.
are sound and gonna have the buoyancy that they need.
But if we did made sure that the floats.
Those
down and
were-
stuff, then we could.
We could
build.
do just an addition and add a
Okay,
wing
all
to
right.
that.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So it almost seems to me as though at the docks, maybe have a phase 1 and phase 2.
Well, to me, the first step is let's get a structural
right,
engineer in there
exactly.
and let's get an assessment report
all
and,
right.
and truly know the data and know what the condition of that is and,
Right.
and what our options are.
So
moving
first an
forward.
evaluation, then
Yep.
a phase 1 and phase 2. Okay.
And then- yep.
One thing that is not on any of these, and it's something that I hear from numerous sources, is with the play area, the playground, is talking to a lot of people, and with the proximity of the water, people feel that there should be a fence around the play area, both to keep kids from wandering off, staying in the area, and also to keep, so that maybe some less desirable people aren't walking through the playground from point A to point B.
I was thinking you'd say geese walking through the playground.
And that happens.
That may be too. I don't think you're gonna do much with geese, but anyway. But anyway, I mean, that there could be, I know that there's mothers that are concerned that their kids are out playing out there, and people who are not playing in the playground, but are passing through. And if there were a fence around it, it would make it so that you're either in the playground or you're not. You're not just passing through. And so anyway, so that's been one of the areas that I've heard that has been of high concern to people.
And so I can tell you out of the 2 rounds of public meetings we have, it's the first time I've heard the comment about a fence from the playground to the lake. And I'll just give you my personal, professional opinion is it'd be a tragedy to do so. It's the one of the only bodies of water we have in this that the public can go to and access. You're 250 to 500 feet away from the playground. You have a 14-foot sidewalk, and you've got at least 60 to 80 feet of beach before you hit water. Number 1 rule on our playground signs is, kids need to be supervised on a playground. You can't just let them. And to obstruct the view, the access to Steel Lake, it constricts a park and makes this park professional a little,
Yeah, I think
uneasy.
the biggest concern isn't so much the wandering off to the water, but it's the people who, crossing the playground area.
Yeah, and I encourage you, if you haven't been to Steel Lake Park on a hot day, on a Saturday, Sunday, and the weekend, just try to get in there, because it's difficult. If the gate's not shut and the parking is not full, we reach capacity and are busting at the seams on those hot days. And unfortunately, some people, everyone's there for a reason to recreate and get a piece of the lake, enjoy the sun, and making sure that everyone is comfortable with everyone else that's in the park. It's a task that we'll never accomplish.
All right, yeah, I think I think the key thing there is that we want people there to recreate, but we need to be concerned about people who may have other nefarious intent. So anyway.
Yeah, no, and that's always a concern in parks.
If I could just kind of add on to what Jack says, I've never really thought of it per se, because, you let when I went there, my kids ran around and all that, but there may be some merit, although you talk about the view to the lake, and I don't think a fence is anything that is going to distract the view of the lake. I mean, I'm a wood fencer, but there might be some value in having a circular fence around the place where all the children are playing, so there's controlled entrances and exits, so that we don't get a call some night that says, hey, Johnny you know, some walked off with somebody who shouldn't have walked off with because the parents weren't paying attention or whatever. I mean, that's what you're really talking about, Jack. You're not talking about protecting people from the water. I think you're more protecting young children from people that have bad intentions.
Right, yeah.
And I have greater concern that a kid's going to wander into the water.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a whole other thing.
But, you know, we're talking about things here that, you know, in the back of your head you can think about, and there's probability and there's potential, but I know of no known incidents or actions of that occurring.
I'm sure we would have heard of it happen, but it's just something to have, in my opinion, should be in the thought pattern.
Yeah, so, okay.
I-
All right.
Lila. Thank you.
Councilmember Honda.
Councilmember McDaniel would like you to know he's already sent you an email.
Thank you.
He didn't want to turn on his light. So, 2 questions of things that could be done sooner than later. You talk about the dock and your concerns with the dock. When I was there for the fishing derby, everyone, even people on the lake, without walking onto the dock, were wearing life jackets. So do we need to provide life jackets to people who are just now going out on the lake, on the dock? And just in case that bad thing happens and the dock flips or something?
I think your probability of that occurring is low.
Okay.
But to address your specific question about life jackets, when we had lifeguards on duty, we had an Eagle Scout project that built a big cart, and we had life jackets donated, and they were available for anyone to use for free. We kept that program going, but we let go of our lifeguards because of inability to get them, although I would love to have that be a guarded beach again someday. Feel like, yeah.
I almost drowned there when I was a child, so it would be
So,
great.
like I say, again, it's not, lifeguards are difficult to find. It used to be every college kid's summer job was to be a lifeguard, and finding lifeguards and just keeping the community center and King County Aquatic Center, community center and King County work together to pool lifeguards because it's that much of a struggle. But back to your question about the life jackets. So, first year we had lifeguards, we moved that cart out there. Within 3 weeks, all the life jackets were stolen. Didn't have the money to replace them, so the cart went away for 2 years. Last year, we were approached by South King Fire and Rescue, offering to donate us. If we would rejuvenate that cart, they will stock the life jacket program as long as we push it out every day and move it in at the end of the day. We were less than 2 weeks before all those life jackets were stolen last year. We've been in conversations with South King Fire, and we would love to institute this program. And they're considering donating the life jackets again, but again, it's something we're trying to do that's nice and the right thing for the community, and unfortunately, some people, and I don't know if it's in the community, but some people think the life jackets have value, and it's more important that it lives at their house than for anybody that's there swimming, and it's a shame, but it's a larger commentary on society and not necessarily our park.
Okay, and then my second suggestion is handicap parking. I think there's 4 spots, or no, maybe 5 spots.
Okay.
And I could be wrong on that, but I think there might be 5 spots. Is it possible to increase that by a couple spots? Especially down by where the boat ramp is in that parking lot?
Yeah, I think there's that potential. I think the parking lot and the driveways, the ingress egress is probably the number one thing we need to do there, but as soon as you start to do that, we're gonna have to do that drainage, so kind of a top 2, the drainage and the
I'm just
asphalt.
thinking if you could do it now.
With that being said, and I have to, you caught me off guard, not what I was expecting, Councilwoman, and so,
It's just,
I can't commit here at the dais, but I hear what you're asking, and so let me get out there by the end of the week, take a peek, and see what we can do. Is that reasonable?
Yes, that's
Okay.
very reasonable. It's just, when you're trying to get crutches in and out of a car and you're parked in really tight spots, it's really hard.
Yeah,
So, thank you.
you're welcome.
Councilmember McDaniel.
Hit the button anyways. What is the average pay for a lifeguard right now?
Oh, shoot, and you're a little bit out of my wheelhouse, John. I deferred, do you have a,
I think we start them at 1850, and we're near and we need to be competitive. And to add on to what Jason said, we already combine efforts with King County Aquatic Center and Wild Waves. And there is a massive shortage nationally of lifeguards, and lifeguards in a pool is comparatively easy to guarding in a lake. A lake is a very scary environment to guard in. You can't see the bottom. On a hot day, when it's 85, 90 degrees, and there's 500 people in a controlled area, who's playing and who's drowning? It is unbelievably stressful and difficult, and there used to be, and I'm going to get the numbers wrong, but the gist will be correct. I believe King County used to have 40 to 45 guarded beaches when I started here. I think they're down to 6. So nobody can get lifeguards. It crushed my soul to shut that beach down, but we could not get lifeguards. And when Burger King is paying the same amount of money to flip burgers, that you're having to get all of this crazy training, and open water training is much more difficult than is pool training. Sitting right here next to me, or almost next to me, Mary Janicki's daughter, Casey, made the last active save by a guard at our lake. So it crushes all of us that we don't have guards, but you can't get them. King County is a huge entity, and they're shutting down beach after beach after beach.
Is there a certain age limitation, like you have to be 18, or can you
I
be?
think it's 16. You
I had
can
a
be-
bunch of friends in high school who did swim, and they were all lifeguards.
Oh,
making
absolutely, and
bank
that's
back in the
our
day.
main source is swim teams across everywhere. We work with all the high schools, and we beg and plead. We train for free. We don't charge you for the training. We want people in there. We haven't had a guarded beach for 5 years.
yeah, it's about 5 years.
About 5 years, it's just impossible. And King County has continued to drop guarded beaches. It's tragic.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Would it be possible to work with the school district to promote, get the word out that there's a need for people interested in training?
We have Craig Feldman, who's an aquatics legend in Western Washington. He actually, I think, taught swimming to the first person who ever learned to swim. He's way older than me. Craig is the lead water instructor for open water training, still to this day, even though he's retired. And he has beaten every bush there is on our behalf and King County's behalf to try and get them. This is every high school, WIAA, everybody. We have reached out across the board. You just can't get them. It's a very difficult, thankless job. And then when you deal with the behavior issues at a lake, when they don't respect you, you have no enforcement ability, they're rude, potentially violent, most parents don't want their kids in that environment either. It's a very challenging thing, and it's not something that we should be proud of as a society, that a lifeguard used to have a lot of authority, and they have zero now.
Thank you. Back to the Life Vest thing.
Sir.
This may not be practical at all, but I mean, if we got life vests, would it be practical at all to require some type of deposit to take it, and then they get their deposit back when they?
The problem is you got to staff that then.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of
That's
this-
why my question, would
Yeah.
that be practical, or would it not be totally impractical?
It just, it'd be such feast or famine. You'd get like a Saturday where you may have a little bit of business, but they could be sitting Monday
Okay.
through Thursday from, 10 a.m. till 4 till
Gotcha.
someone first shows up. And
No,
so
I got you.
we've got so many other needs for staffing that would be difficult for staff to justify, I believe.
All right, thank you. Right. Any other questions for Jason? All right. With that, I think that
So it's
you-
informational only. Again, we'll send out invites when the third meeting is. We'll send you the kind of the next iteration, which will be one kind of master plan, but we're going to still take feedback on that one on the third meeting. And so you'll be involved in this process the whole way through. So thank you for your comments.
All right, and I'll talk to you about possibly going out and
Yeah.
taking a look, and I don't know whether any other
Yeah,
council
please
members want
feel
to.
free to reach out. We'd love to do it.
All right. So you have the next item, E, Sound Generations Parking Lease Agreement.
Yes, and so the policy question before you tonight is, should the city enter into a parking lease agreement with Sound Generation for the lease of 3 parking stalls at City Hall's auxiliary lot? And so what you may or may not know is Hyde Shuttle has been parking in the auxiliary lot since 2013. They've been parking so on a handshake agreement. And recently, with our staffing levels up and as busy as City Hall is, parking is at a premium around here recently. And a couple times they've come up and parking for their shuttle vans are not here. Were not available. And so they got in contact with me and wanted to discuss their parking spots being available. And I said, well, I'm really surprised because back in the era when you first started, the director didn't really do handshake agreements. So I was a little surprised that that was the case, but I've known it to be there. I've known they've parked there. And so if you don't know, Hyde Shuttle provides transportation to underserved populations, handicap, senior populations, all at no cost. And we do have the potential, so one of the big benefactors of Hyde Shuttle is our Federal Way Community Center and all kind of the people that it brings there, from the inclusion population to Silver Sneakers. That Hyde Shuttle's over there probably a couple dozen times a day. And again, this is free service to those underserved populations in our community. If they don't have parking, there's the potential that they may just pull out of Federal Way, and to me, that would be a bigger tragedy than anything. Right now, Sound Generations is out of Tukwila, and the reason they started parking here is because they have to pay their drivers all the way, and it was another hour and a half of time both ways to park the shuttles up in Tukwila, and so this made it cost-effective for them to do so back in 2013. So what we've done is we've kind of negotiated with them. Because of some requirements, we're charging them a nominal fee, and I want to say it's about $40 a month for round numbers, because we've got we also have to have an excise tax on that. That's required by the state and the RCWs. But to me, this is kind of a no-brainer. They've been doing it for this long. We want them in our community. They benefit our community. And so I would entertain any questions from there.
Councilmember McDaniel.
No questions. I just have one comment. I wish we would have had these guys negotiate what we did with the PAC. Yeah, because we just gave $1 million for parking, and they went this kind of rates. So that's my only comment on this.
It's the indirect benefits we receive, council member.
Right. First, Council President Kochmar.
So the auxiliary lot, will we have enough parking for our own needs?
So parking is at a premium here. I think if you want my honest opinion on what the concern with parking is it's impounded cars and requirements by King County courts to hold on to those vehicles because they're tied up in some sort of police action, for lack of a better description. And if you go over there and you look at the number of crashed cars that are in complete disrepair, but they've got to be there, that's what's causing our parking problem over there. And so we have been in conversations with Chief Wang and trying to figure out and try to solve that issue. But we got a requirement to hold on to those cars. That's our one good option right now, but that's where we could see our improvements in parking. And so, is it tight over there? Absolutely, but to me, again, this partnership's been intact for so long that it's not the 3 shuttle buses that are causing the parking issues over there.
All right. Councilmember Subdasa.
Yeah, so since we've already had this arrangement with them, and the fee that we're charging for the 3 parking spots per year is what, less than 150 for all 3. Is it even, why are we even charging them? Can we just block it for them?
It's about gift of public funds, and it's about, there's an excise tax that goes along to this that we maybe hadn't been compliant with. And so, just like we memorialized the Federal Way Historical Society, and they pay us a nominal fee for the use of the Heritage Center. It's the community benefit outweighs the need to make revenue on a program like this. The services and transportation needs that it's providing to those underserved populations is way more valuable than collecting a rent check, in my mind.
Right, that's why I'm actually asking the question. It's like, it's so minimum, it's not gonna benefit us, but I understand that we're.
Because the benefit we're getting is from the indirect services. And
Yeah,
so,
and that's what I like. So my point was, do we have to charge them, is what I'm saying.
And the answer is yes, we
But
do.
I get it now, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you, because their service to our community is so
Yeah.
invaluable that it would make sense, but okay.
you know, and we talked,
Get it.
in years past, it's been, you know, kind of the $1, you know, is what was the charge to nominalize it. But in conversations with the legal department, that it was inappropriate to do so. And so we had to be somewhat reasonable, but also give them, understand the value that the services that they're providing for our community.
All right. Councilmember Dovey.
Yeah, I would think we would want to renew the lease and not mess with it, be happy that they're here, and charge them whatever what we can do is $40, and the wrecked car, put it out in the street somewhere. I mean, this is more important than the wrecked cars in the parking lot. Or if somebody can't park on the street and they walk to the office.
No. All right. Would you like to make a motion?
I do. I move to forward the proposed parking lease agreement to the May 21st, 2024 consent agenda for approval.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, if there's no further discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous once again. All right, and the final item, F, Parks Recreation Shuttle Bus 115-1 replacement.
I wanted it to be all about shuttle buses here to close the meeting tonight, so. With that being said, policy question before you next is, should the city council authorize disposal of shuttle bus 115-1 and appropriate $70,000 in King County levy funds to fully fund the purchase of a replacement and authorize the mayor to enter into a purchasing agreement? And so, shuttle buses are important to programming. We have two for the Federal Way Community Center and the recreation programs. I can tell you that this bus was originally purchased, I want to say back in 2013, and under that director at the time, we had taken replacement reserves from a couple of other vehicles because the need was so great, and used that to purchase the shuttle bus. Unfortunately, that decision, although it was a good decision and the right decision at the time, created a kind of a structural imbalance in our replacement reserves and the parks fleet budget that Director Walsh has been working with the department to get corrected probably for the past 5 years. The other big factor in the structural imbalance that we have in our fleet account is inflation. The amount of money we have been collecting on vehicles and the cost of those vehicles have inversely changed. And so, you know, we were collecting reserves on a $40,000 truck, and a truck now is $70,000. But the way that account works and the way we're acquired, it's based on the purchase price of the previous vehicle. So a little bit of a roundabout story on this. And so the request is for $70,000 in King County levy fund. Ultimately, we can't do without this shuttle bus. The programs that we use for senior programs, inclusion programs, these buses are huge. The 16-passenger vans just don't cut it anymore. People need a little more space. They're too cramped. We try to reserve and hold this King County levy money so we can pool it and do some bigger things. But not having a shuttle bus and being able to run these programs would be a big detriment. So we think it's a wise investment to allocate that $70,000 for the replacement. With that being said, the replacement reserves, like I say, Director Walsh in Public Works and Director Groom have been working to right-side those, and we've made more progress than we have in the last couple of years than previous. And so with that being said, I would entertain questions, but this is kind of a must-have for our recreation programming. And when we first bought the shuttle bus, it was about $59,000, and we're close to, we're going to be between 126 and 150 on this shuttle bus.
Right. Councilmember Honda.
Thank you. How much funds do we have in the levy, King County levy funds?
We're in excess of, I want to say we're just shy of $2 million.
Okay. And what can that money be used for?
It's pretty well, so the King County levy they've been 5-year levies, and they've been going on since 2005, and each iteration of the levy has changed and requirements, or what are allowable. Originally, it was kind of a paths and trails fund, and we used a lot of that to help develop the Panther Lake Trailhead. So we've got a little bit of money that's still kind of tied to paths and trails, and then we have this last one, which was, I believe it was 2020 to 2025, this levy, and it's fairly liberal in what we're able to do with it. And so, yeah, like I say, we have a little portion of it that's tied to paths and trails, but there are a few other things that staff, it can cover some staffing, it can cover vehicles, it can cover parking improvements. There's a range of things. I learned from my predecessor, Deputy Director Eichert, kind of save and pool those monies because they make a difference when you're trying to do some of these bigger things. And looking at the master plan at Steel Lake or master planning Brook Lake, we've got 32 developed properties that have all had maintenance neglect and not had the investments needed to keep them up and going. And so this is a pool of money that we rely on. The King County levy's coming up for renewal next year, and so we're doing everything we can to support that effort to extend that. And so we try to use this money wisely because it's kind of one-time money, and once you spend it, it's gone. And as you know, the Parks Department's always looking for money. So,
Are you ready for a motion?
I think Councilmember Rosefa Dawson has a
He
question.
has a
And then
You should
Councilmember
look this way
McDaniel.
every now and then.
So how many shuttles do we have?
we have 2 shuttles.
So when is the other one due for replacement?
Man, I don't have that before you. They're offset by a few years. John, do you know that off the top of your head?
I think it's about a 3-year offset. It's not going to be due for about 3 years.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, Councilmember McDaniel.
2 questions. The $7,600 for the surplusing, who do we surplus those kind of things to?
Through the Washington State.
Oh, okay, good, okay, I know
Yeah.
the auctions and
Yeah,
stuff.
exactly.
Gotcha. And then, are we required to go through certain people for buying this, since I do know we have Northwest buses in the city limits?
That's who we're looking at. We do have requirements to that, but anytime we can buy locally, that's absolutely what we're gonna do, because we benefit twice.
I was just trying to make sure we kept the money in-house.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Okay, now I think we're ready for a motion.
Okay, I can do that. You want me to do that? Okay. Oh, thank you. All righty. I move to forward the proposed disposal and appropriation of King County levy funds and authorization for the shuttle purchase to the May 21st, 2024 consent agenda for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. If there's no further discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes unanimously.
Thank you for your continued
All right.
support.
All right, thank you, Jason. And I believe if there is no other business, our next meeting will be June 11th, 2024 at 5 PM. And this meeting is adjourned.